Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. In the headlines tonight, a man appears in court over the murder of a Hull woman, a new mental health service across the region and Project Puffin on the East Coast. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to John Spencer about Foppo goes fishing. Before that, Mark Grant on a walk for charity. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Monday's programme with me, Luke Adams. First tonight, a man has appeared in court today charged with the murder of a Hull woman. 42-year-old Glenn Foster appeared at Hull Magistrates Court in connection with the death of 39-year-old Joanne Hemingway. She died after suffering serious injuries following a disturbance outside a flat on Beverley Road in the city on Thursday. A woman also arrested as part of the investigation has been released under investigation whilst inquiries continue. Foster will next appear at Hull Crown Court on Wednesday. A new multi-million-pound mental health service for young people in the Humberside area has been launched. Those with severe or complex mental health disorders will benefit from new inpatient facilities across the region. They will consist of general adolescent beds with co-located psychiatric intensive care beds to care for young people aged between 13 and 18 living with conditions including depression and severe anxiety disorders. The new unit will be sited near the centre of Hull and will work alongside the existing Community Child and Adolescents Mental Health Services. It's a 10-year contract with Humber NHS Foundation Trust. And another new scheme has been launched, this time to tackle issues such as antisocial behaviour and domestic abuse across North East Lincolnshire. £84,000 has been awarded to the North East Lincolnshire Community Safety Partnership Crime Reduction Fund by the Humberside Police and Crime Commissioner Keith Hunter. Voluntary and community groups will be eligible for up to £5,000 from the fund to deal with problems in their community. The scheme will be managed by Voluntary Action North East Lincolnshire, and groups will be able to submit applications for funding from today. The world's puffin population could be halved within a generation if current trends are realised. That's the fear of experts at the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, who run the site of the largest puffin colony on the UK mainland. Dan Kemp has been along to Bempton Cliffs to find out what's going wrong and how getting your camera out can help halt their decline.
For around 3 months every year, the puffins come to stay. But could this site become rarer in the years to come? Bempton Cliffs on the northern edge of Flamborough Head provides the best opportunity to see the birds on the mainland of the United Kingdom. But now the beautiful bird has gone on the UK Red List, which indicates that it's a species on the decline. Alison Barrett is the senior site manager at the RSPB's Nature Reserve at Bempton and says that the shrinking of other colonies across Europe is a concerning sign.
We're starting to see rapid numbers of puffins disappearing from places where previously there would have been millions of animals, and we're seeing dramatic losses in Iceland, Norway and Scotland. Fortunately here at Bempton we're not seeing a decline yet, but it is a sign that things are starting to change in our oceans.
Alan Dawson is a veteran volunteer of 11 years experience above the cliffs. He says it's much more difficult to conduct research on the birds at Bempton as opposed to anywhere else.
Our puffin population here is around 1,100 pairs. It's not an exact count because of the way they breed here on the cliff. In many other locations on islands where they burrow into the tops of the fills, it's quite an easy job to count them. But here they nest in the holes in the cliff face, and it's an almost impossible job to attach an accurate number to them.
Puffin numbers are forecast to have halved within a generation, so with numbers elsewhere on the decline, it seems only a matter of time before the effects are felt in this part of East Yorkshire.
I think it's a certainty if we continue to go on as we're going on with warming oceans, warming temperatures, starting to have dramatic impacts on life in the ocean, and the puffin relies on the food web in the ocean.
Okay, what type of food are puffins relying on, and how does global warming affect what they're bringing back?
Yeah, so typically you'll see a puffin return with a sand eel, usually a beak full of sand eels, so sometimes up to 20. It's quite amazing. Their beak is perfectly designed to capture these tiny silvery little fish and bring them back to the nest. The sand eel relies on plankton. A healthy ocean would be an Arctic species of plankton that then the sand eels would feed on and grow up and then be fed on by other animals. What we're starting to see as our waters warm with global climate change is that those Arctic species of plankton are starting to move north. They're looking for cold water, that's what they need. And so we're starting to see warmer species of plankton warmer water species of plankton move into other environments. And usually those don't provide enough calories. So then the fish that feed on those are perhaps lower quality, and that starts to have an impact on the entire food system.
To try and learn more about what might be causing the puffin's decline, the RSPB have set up Project Puffin to help to analyse the birds' feeding habits. Alison explains what Project Puffin is and why it's being launched around the UK.
Project Puffin is an opportunity for members of the public to get involved in a citizen science project that's to come to a site like Bempton Cliffs, where you might find puffins in the summer, and to capture photographs of them as they fly in, bringing food back to the nest. And then a team of scientists is going to analyse that food, and that way we can better understand what puffins are eating around the island of the UK, and to see what kind of things they're bringing back to the nest, whether those are prey items we'd expect to see, whether climate change is having an impact on the size or the different types of species. We can get an overall indication of what's going on in our ocean, and to see whether that's going to have an impact on the future of puffins.
A walk across the Humber Bridge is taking place later this month to raise awareness of the Samaritans. To tell me more, I'm delighted to welcome my first guest tonight, Mark Grant, listening volunteer for the Grimsby and Cleethorpes branch of the charity. Good evening, Mark. Welcome to the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Luke. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you very much. First of all, tell me when this walk is taking place and why.
The walk is taking place on the 23rd of July.
Okay.
It's a day before we actually have our National Samaritans Awareness Day, which is the 24th of July, 24/7, because Samaritans is available 24/7. So we want to get ahead of the game, and our walk is the morning of the 23rd at 10:30.
And of course, Samaritans, like you said there, Mark, provides that vital lifeline 24/7, 365 days a year.
That's right, Luke, it does.
The National Samaritans Awareness Day, then, what is that all about, and why does it obviously take place?
Well, we want to raise the profile, firstly, of Samaritans across the country. Samaritans is staffed by 20,000 volunteers in 201 branches across the country, and so many people are in crisis, so many people are going through a difficult time, and our role as support volunteers is really to listen to those people and to help them. So anything that we can do to, first of all, make people aware that there is a talking service available, or a texting or email service, is really important to us. And secondly, we're not government funded. A lot of people seem to think Samaritans is. We're not. We rely on donations and the support of the general public to keep our branches going.
And obviously, campaigns and awareness events like this, Mark, and obviously the Humber Bridge Walk in July, that will obviously raise further the vital and fantastic work the charity does.
And that's exactly the reason why we're doing the walk. That's our part in Grimsby and Cleethorpes, plus a few of the local branches in the area, Bridlington, Leeds, Hull and Scunthorpe are also involved.
Okay, so people from across the Samaritans area coming together for this walk.
That's correct. So the walk starts at 10:30. We're meeting at 10 on the south side of the bridge. We will have a stand as well if anybody wants to talk to somebody from Samaritans. And we're walking across the bridge and back. And the reason we're doing that is twofold. First of all, to raise awareness, as I said earlier.
Sure.
But secondly, the founder of Samaritans, Chad Varra, who set up the organisation in 1953, was born in Barton-on-Humber. So for us, it seems like the perfect place to actually participate and have an event.
Yeah, and like you say, 1953, a local man launched this national charity, which has been phenomenally successful, saving lives in those 64 years.
Very much so. We're there our vision is to reduce the incidence of suicide.
Okay.
But not just that, we're also there for people who are, as I said before, are going through crisis or are not coping and want somebody they can talk to without being judged, who will listen, not tell them what to do, and we'll be there, as I said before, around the clock, 24/7, and as you said, 365 days a year.
And the important number, obviously, Mark, to give out here is 116 123.
That's correct. That's our national number. It's a free phone number,
Okay.
and it also means it can be called free from mobiles as well as landline, Luke. And the most important thing, particularly for people who perhaps don't want people to know they're calling, is
Okay.
it doesn't show up on their bill.
Right, okay, so it's completely confidential.
That's correct.
So people wouldn't be, like you say, aware that those
That's right.
calls have been made. And every 6 seconds someone contacts the charity.
That's correct. It's amazing to think every 6 seconds. And I mentioned earlier the incidence of suicide. We want to reduce that.
Uh-huh.
It's a sad statistic and perhaps not appropriate at tea time,
Sure,
but
sure.
one person in this country takes their life every 90 minutes. Anything that we can do to reduce that without telling somebody what to do is a step worth taking.
Absolutely. And I read a report recently, well, just before we came to where, Matt, that 15,000 rail staff have been trained by Samaritans in suicide prevention. So you're doing great work to raise awareness and highlight this. And I hope the walk goes well
Thank
on
you.
the 23rd of July. And we'll see you again very soon. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Would I be able to just quickly say, if somebody cannot join us on the walk, and we invite people to do so, you can still sponsor us. You can go to virginmoneygiving.com.
Okay.
And also you can send a cheque to Grimsby Samaritans at
Wonderful.
Alexandra Road.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Now it's time for a quick break. Back in part 2 with John Spencer talking about his new book for children and all the latest news from Jack Booth in the sports world. Welcome back to Estuary News. Still to come this Monday evening, I'll be joined on the sofa by John Spencer talking about his new book for children and a roundup of all the latest sporting action with Jack. Now, a couple from North Lincolnshire are on a mission to give hedgehogs a new hospital. Frank and Veronica Tett run a hedgehog rescue centre in their own home, but are now working on building Andrews Hedgehog Hospital. It will contain a wealth of new facilities and be built near Elmsham Hall, who have offered their assistance with bringing the hospital to life. Fred McNamara brings us the story.
Frank and Veronica Tett have dedicated their lives to safeguarding hedgehogs in the North Lincolnshire area. With so many hedgehogs in need of varying levels of care, they need a new facility to offer their services. Andrews Hedgehog Hospital, which Frank and Veronica are currently fundraising towards, hopes to help them with their influx of patients.
One of my volunteers said, I'll write to a few businesses and see if anybody's interested in helping us. And bless her heart, her name's Sammy, and she wrote to the Elwes family at Elsham Hall. And we got a reply. Yes, we'd like to talk to you about this. And it just so happened that at that time, the Elwes family had decided they wanted to get more involved with wildlife. So we were a natural. So we went along, had a chat. We've given them some plans. We found a really lovely architect who's very eco-friendly. So the hospital will be carbon neutral, eco-friendly. It's got a grass roof and it's timber framed. Fits in totally with Elsham Hall's facilities there. Well, it has its own operating theatre. It's got an X-ray department. It's got recovery rooms, storage facilities. The roof opens and closes and does wonderful things. And a revolutionary reception, which I can't say anything about yet because it's my son's idea and no one has ever done it before. We're going to do buy brick, where you can purchase a brick. If you donate more than £10 for the brick, you get your name actually on the brick. And when the hospital is built, the reception, one wall, will be full of bricks with people's names on, and they're forever. So those names are people that helped to build that hospital. You know, I'm getting calls from weird places in the country that ring me and say, I can't get hold of anybody. There's no one to ask, and I've got this baby and it's been stuck down a drain for 2 days and don't know what to do. Things like that. Because a lot of the hedgehog rescues close. 6, 7 o'clock at night, you can't get anybody. You certainly can't get the RSPCA, whereas we don't. We stay open. I'm not keen on taking calls at 11 o'clock at night, but we do, if it's necessary. With the hospital, with somebody there all the time on call, takes a lot of the pressure off us. We can then fill in as we're needed, give advice as we're needed. I just think hedgehogs stand a better chance.
With this new hospital, hedgehogs across the area will have their own hub where they can be fed, made better and be secure. From McNamara, Estuary News.
Foppo Goes Fishing is the latest volume of work by children's author John Spencer, and I'm delighted to say the author is with me now to tell me more. Good evening, John. Welcome to the programme. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. So 2 new books in the pipeline. You've been a children's author for 12 years, is that correct?
About 12 years, yeah. About 2003 when Charlie's Adventure first came out in the shops.
Because you've written a series of books about Charlie.
Six titles currently in the Charlie series.
Okay.
And there's 2 Foppos. Unfortunately, one of them's out of print at the moment.
Right.
The new book, Foppo Goes Fishing, is literally just on the shops now. You can buy it it'll be in Waterstones very, very soon.
Okay.
I'm at WH Smith in the Prospect Centre in Hull this Saturday.
Okay.
And I think it's the 15th, the week after, is it? That I'll be in York. Low Petergate, it's one I've never done before, so I'll be going down there to York to do some book signings. And they can be bought online. I have a website now. Excellent.
And this is the book in question, which is now in print, obviously.
It's, yes.
Available now. What does this story tell us? What is Foppo doing?
I think Foppo is a character that smaller children can relate to.
Okay.
Is easy a lovable little bear. And he goes through the motions of, he wakes up one morning and it's a lovely sunny morning and he thinks, he looks out of his window, what can I do today?
Okay.
And he looks at his skateboard, he looks at his tennis rackets and he has this idea he'll go fishing. And he has 2 friends called Lucy and Sam. Sam is the postman who always speaks to him. And he wants to boast to them. It tells you in the book he's imagining he's going to catch this whopper of a fish.
Okay.
And I won't tell too much of the story.
Sure. Don't spoil it to the younger viewers watching out there.
Yeah.
And it's a beautifully illustrated book.
By a very young illustrator, Becky Coates, who is at the moment studying at Hull at the college. To come here, Lincolnshire, she's coming on to the Uni of Lincolnshire to study illustration.
Where did you manage to track her down then to help with the illustrations?
I have a gentleman called Ben Reed who runs a website for me, and Ben's responsible for the colouring of the Charlie books, which are now all going to be reprinted in full colour. And it's Ben's girlfriend. It's a small world.
It is a small world. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Robin Estuary always does the Charlie books for me, and she sort of wanted to do this. And I think it'd be good for her CV. So I hope at the same time of bringing the new book, it's given her...
And obviously, John, you must enjoy, writing yourself. You've done 6 books today in those 12 years, and obviously this recent publication now. Yeah. Where did the idea of becoming a children's author come from?
The book simply started as bedtime stories from my daughter Sophie.
Right, okay.
I had no ambitions whatsoever to write, or I had no aspirations of being an author. And if it wasn't for my son sort of renewing his computer and passing me down the old one, I probably wouldn't have started typing and writing. And the one that I'd already paid for, like, you know what I mean. And I started writing this little story. My daughter said to me, why don't you write one of the Charlie stories into a book? And so I wrote this one about little boy lost in the jungle, and now the chimp, against all good wishes, goes out to search for him. And that book became Charlie's Adventure, the first book in the series.
So did you find after writing that first book, you had a bit of writer's bug and you couldn't put the pen down from the paper?
I really found then that I really enjoyed writing.
Great.
And people were saying, when's the next one coming out? And I thought, next one, And I write around the title, that's what I do. I get a title in my head.
Okay.
And I write around the title. And, the second book, Charlie and the Hidden Treasure of Mbaru, come out. And from there, it's just kicked on.
And this one here, John, is from the Charlie series.
And
this is the one which has recently been published in colour.
Reprinted in colour, yeah.
And that's obviously now available from your website.
It is indeed, along with the Foppo book, yeah.
Okay. Foppo Goes Fishing, like I said, beautifully illustrated book. Just tell our viewers out there who may be watching with their parents where they can get a copy of this book from.
Very soon, Waterstones. As I said, they can come along to a book sign if they want a signed copy, but you can get signed copies off my website.
Okay.
If they Google Flint and Press, it will give the link to the website, and you can order copies on there. There's no extra charge for a signature.
Great, and it's at the very modest price of £2.99.
Yes, they wouldn't break any family budget.
Excellent value for money, John. I wish you all the best with your future writing. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming in this Monday evening.
Pleasure.
Now here's Jack with all the latest news from the world of sport.
Hull FC head coach Lee Radford says his side's second half efforts were too little too late on Friday. Radford's side's 4-match winning streak came to an end as they fell to a 24-22 defeat at the hands of Super League leaders Castleford. FC were trailing by 16 points at half-time and managed to get within 2 points of the Castleford lead following a second half fight back, but that wasn't enough. They will look to bounce back on Friday when they travel to St Helens. Across the city, Hull KR made it 4 wins out of 4 in the Championship on Sunday. They beat London Broncos 40 points to 22, bringing their opponent's 10-match unbeaten streak to a halt. This result means that KR cement their position at the top of the Championship table and stay 7 points clear of the chasing pack. They next play Bradford Bulls on Sunday. Hull City returned for the start of pre-season today. New boss Leonard Slutsky had led a team meeting with his staff and players this morning before the work began on the field. The Tigers head over to Portugal for a training camp in a week's time, where they take on Oxford, Bristol Rovers and Portuguese side Benfica. The club have also announced that their away fixture to Derby County has been brought forward for live TV coverage. The game will now take place on Friday the 8th of September at 7:45. Under-23 forward Johnny Edwards has returned to Accrington Stanley on loan for the upcoming season. The 20-year-old also played for Stanley last season on loan, where he scored once in 10 appearances. And finally, Grimsby Town have appointed Callum Lester as the club's new academy coach, and that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Jack. That's it for tonight. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv or phone our news desk, Grimsby number 01472315553. Details are on the screen now. You can also put pen to paper and write to Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. As always, we look forward to hearing from you. Join me tomorrow when I'll be talking to John Everson about Barton Bike Night and Peter Kingswood about a new community action group. Until then, from all of us on the team,